Hi everyone, welcome to today's reading. So I figured we're just going to do a quick check-in into the collective and see what's going on and what your specific person that you're thinking of is thinking today and feeling today. Ooh. So we have the Emperor, we have the Wheel of Fortune, and we have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. We have Death in reverse, Temperance, and the Sun in reverse. And we have the Ten of Swords, the Page of Wands, and the Two of Swords in reverse. And we have no contact, silence, call, hearing from them, and non-committal, independent. We have imprisonment. We have marriage. And we have community. Okay, so I feel like this particular message is for a very specific group of people. Take it as it resonates. I am going to get some messages from the person that you're thinking about at the very end of the reading, by the way. So this is definitely a situation where a third party is involved. So either they are married to the third party, or they're dating the third party, or maybe you were married to them and then they left, or you left and then, you know, a third party got involved. So it's something along those lines. But the person that is coming through, they are currently in this process of starting to realize that the way that they've been doing things is just not good and it's not correct. And that basically every decision that they've made in life kind of stemmed from a place of trying to, I heard just like be like top dog, essentially. They are the kind of person that always wants to be, you know, presenting themselves a certain way and wants to be on top, and is always like trying to almost mess with destiny and mess with reality. So they're not someone who likes to just go with the flow. And I feel like they're getting to a point where they started to realize, or are starting to realize that just because the situation with you guys didn't go the way that they thought, where they couldn't maybe control it as much, or maybe it was almost like, I feel like the situation with you kind of caught them off guard a little bit. They're now starting to realize that that did not mean that this was a wrong situation, but that it more so meant that they were at almost like a crossroads where they needed to change certain things and needed to look at certain things the way that they've been doing them, because they're very, very stuck in their ways. There's someone who will like not react very well to any sort of criticism, or like even just advice. Like they take every advice as almost like a critique to them. Like they take everything super, super personal. And I think they're at the point where they really are starting to hit rock bottom and realize, like, I am completely out of balance and I don't let anybody get away with anything. And I do think a big part of that is the third party, because the decisions and the choices that they made, where they were so rigid and thinking like, I'm doing everything right, led them to whatever situation they got themselves in with the third party. And now I think they're starting to realize how unhappy they actually are. Like, it's almost like they justified whatever happened between you guys, and they were like, well, but it wasn't right, so it's okay. and the third party situation looks a lot more clean on paper. But I think it's one of those things where the person that you're asking about is really starting to realize that just because something looks a certain way on paper doesn't mean that you're actually happy. And I don't think they are the kind of person that really cared about happiness in the past, only because to them, being in control of things and being on top of the situation generated like enough happiness. They're the kind of person that would basically get married to someone, for example, that is like good enough. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't need to be happy, but at least I'm content. And I think this is like a stark contrast between the third party and you, where they are, it's almost like they had an epiphany of sorts where they're like, oh my God, wait a minute, I actually was happy with the other person. And now I'm in this situation that looks good on paper, but it's really not right. So, and also with like the non-committal, you could have actually just been in a situationship with them potentially where they maybe ghosted you or something because you probably, I feel like you didn't even know what was going on. I don't think you necessarily did anything wrong in the traditional sense. I feel like you might have just been yourself and they didn't really know what to do with that necessarily, because you can't be controlled, you know? And you were not the cookie cutter, perfect on paper kind of person. There might have been like some cultural differences or religious differences, or maybe even just the way you looked or the way you acted, or the way you presented yourself. Like, say for example, you come into a family where everybody is like super quiet and super shy and you're just the loud one, you know? That's kind of like the energy I'm seeing and I'm getting, where they thought that you wouldn't look good on paper, even though they didn't realize how much of an asset you were. So they were looking for someone else who looked better on paper. And now they're realizing like, oh my God, this is actually the worst decision that I could have ever made. I think they're starting to realize that, first of all, there's no security in this situation. Like, they feel trapped and they feel imprisoned, but they also feel insecure at the same time. Hold on, I might have to sneeze. Okay, did not want to come out, but it's still the truth and it's still stuck. It's still tickling my nose. So they are really, really lonely. And I think with you, they felt it's almost like they were scared that they were going to lose maybe their standing in either their family or their society or just the community in general if they would have chosen you. And now they've chosen someone who looked better on paper, but it still made them lonely and it still isolated them from everybody. And I feel like they might have been hearing through the grapevine as well how you've been doing better. Or maybe I also see like some people, this is for a very small group of people, but they've also been asking about you behind the scenes, if anybody like knows how you're doing or what you're up to. So they are kind of keeping tabs on you, which you might feel energetically them keeping tabs on you. But I want to see if I can figure out what exactly, first of all, they were finding out about you, but second of all, also what that epiphany moment would have been. But yeah, they're starting to realize that their habit of doing certain things, like it's almost like you are choosing one type of person over and over again and it's not making you happy, but it's all you know. And then you run across somebody who is completely different and who is maybe healthy, but in your mind, they are not good for you because they're not what you're used to. I'm actually watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives right now. And one of the girls, I think it was Miranda, she basically said, you're not, like, your body doesn't remember what's good for you. Your body remembers what's familiar. And I feel like that's very much what's going on here, is that their body and their nervous system just remembered what's familiar and not necessarily what's good for them. And you were good for them, but you weren't familiar to them. So they didn't know what to do with that. So we got the Four of Pentacles, the Two of Wands, and the King of Wands in reverse. And then we have the Knight of Wands in reverse, the Fool, and the Six of Cups in reverse. Sorry, I had to check on my cat. He was apparently in the mood for every time you hear like a little, you know, cluttering noise somewhere and you have a cat, you will understand. So let's start with this particular part first. What was I saying first? I think it was about what they were hearing about you. So basically what they have been hearing about you, almost like, again, through the grapevine, if you have people in common, you would know. But basically, what they've been hearing is that you kind of just removed yourself from the situation and you've been starting over, and that you basically made the best version of yourself out of this situation, which case it kind of let them, I don't know, I'm having such a hard time talking right now. It's almost like they now have to face their past problems through the lens of you glowing up. So I don't know if you were the first person to glow up around them or after they left them or whatever, or if this is like a pattern that they have to face, but it's almost giving like, someone who kind of like blames the outside world, but then when they leave certain people, everybody glows up around them except for them. So they have to kind of come to terms with the fact that they might be the toxic person in the situation. And that's what they've been hearing about you, just in terms of like how you removed yourself from the situation and you kind of started a little bit of your glow up journey. So that's something they've been hearing about you and are basically sitting with. But on the other hand, what also caused the epiphany that they're in is the fact that I feel like somebody really had like a talking to. Oh, what the hell? That was Siri, and that was weird. I don't know if that was a sign for anybody. Take it as it resonates. That never happened to me before. But I feel like somebody might have had a talking to with them and basically told them like straight up, you're being greedy, you're being selfish, and I don't know what you think you're doing. Like you're just pretending out here like you got your stuff together and you're in control when you're actually just, it's almost giving like God complex, like they're just expecting everything to go a certain way, and when it doesn't, they tend to blame everything outside of them. So it's giving like, when someone tries to hold on to control and then things don't end up that way, instead of going inward, they try to control things even more. And I feel like someone actually called them out on that. Could have also been a group of people that were like, you're just waiting for things to change and you're trying to, pretend like you're so bothered by everything when all you've been doing is using you being bothered to be more controlling. Because I have a feeling whatever is going on with the third party here, whether they imprisoned the third party essentially or they feel imprisoned by the third party, I think something cracked where they picked the perfect person on paper and now everything is falling apart. So it's almost like they try to do everything in their power to control it, and they put all the perfect pieces in place, right? Like they're the perfect chess player. They all know 50 moves ahead, and then someone comes in and is just super nonchalant about it and knocked them over, like knocked all of their pieces over. It's almost like they had the perfect plan and looked at every contingency and every loophole, and then someone came in and they still found a loophole that they didn't even think of. And I think that's what's causing this huge epiphany where they're like, well, am I the problem? Is this play about me? Because yes, it is. But I don't necessarily know if they are ready to change, because I do get this feeling of like that they're still holding on to all of this a lot. So you have to look at it more so as a mental processing that they're going through. So if you were to look at them from the outside, you might not notice that there's a whole lot of change going on. This is more internal, I feel. The only thing you might be able to notice if you're around them is that they might be a little bit more irritated than normal potentially. But apart from that, I feel like this is a lot of internal processing where even when they're looking at you and glowing up, I don't know necessarily if they are currently processing it as like they fumbled, even though they did. I think they're more so looking at it right now as like, how the hell did this person glow up and I didn't? Like they're almost trying to reverse engineer what they did wrong and how they could have been better, like more controlling in the situation, how they could have prevented you from leaving and glowing up. But I think there's a part of them that's also starting to realize like, wait a minute, am I really the problem? But it's like in its like infant shoes, I want to say. This is very much at the beginning of the journey, but they are starting to realize that maybe things aren't the way that they're supposed to be, because again, they did everything right and they still, it almost feels like they feel like they got punished with the third party situation here. So I don't know. Yeah. Ooh. So it's almost like someone told them, if you do everything right, you're going to get rewarded, and they did everything right and they still didn't get the reward. So some messages from them: I want to honor you. You ruined everyone else for me. You are stalking me in my dreams. We have, I see your name car everywhere. I can feel you thinking about me. I am terrified you are moving on without me. I am afraid to lose you. I do not feel good enough for you. I still stalk your socials. It has never just been physical. You are haunting my every thought. You are perfection, and I will wait for you. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading, and I'll see you guys in the next one.